It started as a murmur, a faint growl over the Pacific. By October 23, 2025, that murmur erupted into a deafening roar. New Zealand was gripped by a windstorm of ferocious power, the fiercest in years. Gusts surpassing 95 mph tore through the South Island, shredding roofs, uprooting ancient trees, and plunging tens of thousands into darkness. In Wellington, the capital, streets lay deserted save for flying debris and the frantic glow of emergency lights. Flights were grounded, highways sealed, and the National Weather Agency issued a rare red wind warning, the gravest alert. For the second time in 3 days, nature unleashed its full wrath on the nation. What followed wasn't just a storm. It was a stark awakening to how swiftly normalcy can collapse, revealing the fragility of even the safest havens. By dawn, the storm had morphed into a beast. Winds exceeding 95 mph battered Wellington's harbor, hurling waves onto the shore and scattering debris like shrapnel. In the Canterbury Plains, barns collapsed, fences splintered, and trees toppled like toys. Across the South Island, neighborhoods plunged into darkness as power lines sparked and buckled under relentless gusts. Over 90,000 homes lost power in hours. More than 100 flights were canceled, stranding travelers as Air New Zealand halted all South Island routes. Emergency sirens wailed in the capital as first responders fought fallen trees and blocked roads. Television footage captured the chaos. Trucks flipped, rooftops peeled away, residents clutching flashlights in pitch-black homes. Local officials in Christchurch and Canterbury declared a state of emergency, calling the storm a merciless force. The devastation rivaled the 2011 earthquake. Yet, as the day wore on, the winds only intensified, transforming cities into battlegrounds of shattered glass and twisted metal. For a nation renowned for its serenity and beauty, October 23, 2025 became a day of reckoning, as New Zealand faced nature's raw might and barely held on. As daylight waned, chaos gave way to survival. In Hawera, a delivery truck was tossed off the highway like a leaf. In Christchurch, a construction crane buckled under 90 mph gusts, crashing onto an empty street below. Power poles snapped, roads vanished under fallen trees, and the air thrummed with the roar of wind and the shriek of twisting metal. Families huddled in candlelight as windows shattered and roofs ripped apart. In Marlborough, emergency dispatchers were overwhelmed with calls. People trapped in cars, barns collapsing, power lines sparking across flooded ground. "It was like a jet engine inside our house," one resident whispered, voice trembling. By evening, Cook Strait ferries were halted, trains stopped, and entire towns were cut off from the world. Rescue crews braved hurricane-force winds, hauling generators and first aid kits on foot when vehicles couldn't pass. For firefighters, paramedics, and volunteers, the night was a relentless battle, fueled by grit and defiance. As one weary responder said, "You don't pause to fear the danger. You grit your teeth, push forward, and pray the wind doesn't claim you next." Meteorologists dubbed it one of the most ferocious windstorms in New Zealand's modern history. Its power wasn't just in the gusts, but in its sudden birth. On October 23, 2025, a perfect clash of forces, frigid Antarctic air colliding with a warm, moisture-laden front from the Tasman Sea, ignited a storm of terrifying intensity. The atmospheric pressure plummeted to 973 millibars, akin to a mid-grade hurricane, turning every valley and hill into a wind tunnel. Met Service scientists noted that such explosive cyclogenesis is growing more frequent in the South Pacific, fueled by a warming climate and shifting jet streams. Warmer ocean temperatures pump energy into the atmosphere, letting storms surge faster and strike harder. Satellite imagery showed swirling cloud bands sweeping both islands, each carrying gusts capable of toppling trucks and ripping off roofs. For experts, it was a grim reminder. In a changing climate, even the invisible force of wind can become a deadly weapon. At the storm's peak, it didn't just shatter infrastructure, it broke the rhythm of daily life. In Canterbury and Wellington, families cowered as winds howled through their walls. In Southland, farmers watched helplessly as silos collapsed, livestock scattered into flooded fields, and barns vanished under flying debris. "It felt like the world was ending," one resident said, voice shaking as she recalled hiding under a table with her children. In Christchurch, emergency shelters overflowed with families fleeing collapsing roofs and shattered windows. Hospitals ran on backup generators, treating injuries from falling debris and flying glass. Rescue workers pulled drivers from overturned vehicles and labored to clear roads choked with trees and power poles. At the storm's height, over 90,000 homes sat in darkness, and entire communities were cut off. Yet, amid the wreckage, acts of bravery and kindness shone through, neighbors securing each other's roofs, strangers sharing flashlights and food, volunteers braving the gale to check on the elderly. For many, the night was steeped in fear but defined by resilience. As one firefighter put it, "The wind overpowered us, but we never stopped fighting for each other." When the winds finally relented, New Zealand awoke to devastation and determination. Emergency services sprang into action, deploying crews across Canterbury, Wellington, and Marlborough to clear roads, restore power, and aid isolated communities. Over 600 personnel worked through the night, wielding chainsaws to cut through fallen trees and heavy machinery to reopen highways. The National Emergency Management Agency declared a state of emergency in Canterbury, mobilizing military resources and coordinating relief efforts. Helicopters took flight at dawn, surveying damage and airlifting supplies to remote farms cut off by debris. In Wellington, community centers became shelters, with volunteers distributing blankets, batteries, and warm meals to those facing a second night without power. Local businesses donated generators and fuel, while restaurants fed first responders for free. Despite the exhaustion, a sense of unity pulsed through the nation. Messages of solidarity flooded in. "Stay strong, Aotearoa." By nightfall, power was restored to nearly 70% of affected homes, a testament to New Zealand's unyielding spirit. In every storm-ravaged community, one truth rang clear: the nation stood united. As calm settled over New Zealand, the storm left more than shattered power lines and scattered debris. It left a wake-up call. Named Fengshen by meteorologists, the system exposed how swiftly a modern nation can be humbled by nature's fury. In just 48 hours, winds reshaped coastlines, crippled transport, and pushed emergency systems to their limits. Experts warn these storms are no longer rare. The frequency of extreme wind events in the South Pacific has doubled in the past decade, driven by climate change and warmer seas that supercharge pressure systems. "What was once a once-in-a-century event now strikes every few years," said a University of Otago climate scientist. Yet, amidst the warnings, a spark of hope emerged: awareness. Communities once dismissive of storm alerts are now stocking emergency kits, reinforcing homes, and pushing for stronger climate policies. The storm, devastating as it was, showed that adaptation is not just environmental, it's cultural. As one Wellington resident said while repairing his roof, "You can't tame the wind, but you can stand ready for its return." If this story stirred you, like, share, and subscribe to spread awareness about our changing world. The next storm is already brewing, and the time to prepare is now.